So I'm Julia. I make videos, performances, and works on paper. And then I also do a lot of writing, which then ends up being in the videos and performances, which you'll hear in the voiceovers in the videos. And then the text is also on the wall if you want to see it. I'll talk more generally about the work, but if you have specific questions and you want to nerd out with me about the plants or the locations or the shells or something like that, then I'm happy to do that too. The seed of this video series really started right after I moved to Houston in 2017, when my whole neighborhood was flooded by Hurricane Harvey. We stayed because we were lucky enough that the water came exactly to our front door. But I spent a lot of time in the recovery walking around my neighborhood, and it was quite empty, and then watching the plant life return faster than the human life, and sort of seeing what grew in the absence of people mowing their lawns. And a lot of times it was these really beautiful native plants that are often disregarded as weeds, and one of those is the purslane in the video in the vault. So I started taking pictures and videos and writing while I was learning to live in this new climate. San Antonio is not that far away, but some of the trees are different, the birds are different, the soil is different if you want to make things grow, right? So I was slowly starting to establish these new relationships with my non-human neighbors and thinking about what that meant. And also just thinking, how do I make work about plants? I'm not really sure. If you've seen my work before, I'm often doing projects about subjects that can be kind of heavy, like abortion and reproductive justice, hurricane recovery trauma, sex work on the US-Mexico border. And I can find humor in some of the absurdities of those things, but I find myself in between those projects, often returning to just this observational practice that's in a lot of this work, and refilling my bucket by reminding myself of the beauty and the wonder in life that keeps me motivated to do the harder stuff. You'll see in the videos and in the poems, there's climate anxiety, there's grief, but also there's a lot of reverence for all of the other lives that sustain our existence, and for my children, and for the future generations that they're a part of that have to inherit the earth from us. So in doing all this work, it also got me thinking about time scales, geological, biological, and how the human time scale is just one of an infinite number of others around us, which led to this animation. I was commissioned to make a piece that would be projected on a bridge over Buffalo Bayou in Houston. And this animation of the blinking eyes that forms a sort of cosmic background is now that drawing. I was thinking about all of the organisms that live on the bayou and their relative lifespans. And so in the video, you'll see the time that they're on screen and the number of animated marks that go with the organisms, and that corresponds to how long they live their life all together. And it's all passing us by in a way that we don't always notice, right? So the fuzzy little gall on the oak leaf that's made by a tiny wasp that lives its entire existence in the span of 2 weeks. And that leaf also comes from the tree, the live oak tree that produced that acorn. That's always a clock ticking in the background because it lives over 300 years and it sees generations of humans, more than 10 generations of humans. So the collaged eyes, this web of eyes was made into a drawing of tree rings, because I'm thinking about all of those interdependent lives watching so much of the world go by in a time span that's really kind of difficult for humans to conceptualize, but we try. These drawings of oak galls, and you'll see the real thing in that little jar over there, are also made by the centipede wasp that makes the thing on the leaves. So this little wasp stings a branch of the oak tree and puts in an egg, and then the chemicals around the egg prompt the tree's DNA to fashion this protective little place for its larva to live. It doesn't hurt the tree. Once you see them, you'll probably recognize them now, coming off of branches or at the bottom of an oak tree. A lot of them are on live oak trees. And these are more works on paper that then became animations that you see in the other video. These are graphite, and then the darker ones are oak gall ink. So you can make an ink out of the galls, and this is actually a relationship that humans and oak trees have had for centuries. This ink has been used for at least since the 4th century, and in a lot of illuminated manuscripts like the Book of Kells from the 800s, and the Declaration of Independence is written with oak gall ink. So why would I fixate on oak galls? If any of you are parents or some kind of other caretaker, you know how much effort and collaboration it takes to sustain just one other person. And I have this oak gall spinning in the animation like a little world unto itself. And although it seems like that, it's not independent. And I just kept thinking of it as this micro example of the web of relationships that it takes to nurture just one tiny life. And it's totally non-transactional. And that's so beautiful. Oak trees are keystone species that have been worshipped in many cultures, and a healthy oak tree can support from 2,300 to 4,000 other species, from mammals to birds, insects, fungi, all kinds of things above and below ground. And this to me is a really gorgeous model of generosity that I just wanted to obsess over for a while. I used to be an educator and will always be one at heart, and so there's a reading list for this exhibition. And you're free to take them off the shelf and look at them if you want to. One of the books on the shelf is called What Kind of Ancestor Do You Want to Be? And I feel like this work in part is about me asking myself that question. Well, in this process, I realized that it's not great for watercolor and washes and things like that. Mostly what it's been used for over history is in a pen for like writing on documents or making an illuminated book. So it's people love it because it dries really, really dark, and it's more permanent than ink that was made from charcoal and other materials.